Alright, how's everybody doing today? Back again with another video for you guys and gals, and today what I have for everyone is my full review of the Samsung Galaxy S6 Active. Now, maybe you're new to the channel, maybe you're returning, but let me give you a brief rundown of how things work. Typically what I like to do is I like to shoot my unboxing and my first impressions video. Then my review process starts, and once I feel like I got a handle on everything I want to talk about and cover with you guys and gals, then it's full review time. And I took a good amount of time to review this device, and I feel like I got all my thoughts and opinions in order. So without further ado, let's jump into this full review. Alright, now starting off, the first thing I want to talk about with you guys and gals is the overall build quality, design, and durability of this device. Talking about this device in terms of the overall build quality, I feel as though Samsung has done a great job here. It actually feels very solid. All the buttons feel very tactile and clicky, and I've had no issues with the overall build quality. Okay? Talking about the overall design, I really do like the design approach that Samsung went with this device. They have that nice grippy material on the back. They have the grippy plastics, nice durable plastics, and the reinforced display. Really good display. Now, talking about this device in terms of overall durability, I have to say this device is yet again really good. Now, in terms of durability, I've actually dropped this device multiple times, as y'all can see, and it still looks the same as in my unboxing or pseudo unboxing and first impressions video. So this bad boy has been really holding up, and I really appreciate that, especially with the fact that this one took a really big face down drop and everything works exactly as it's supposed to. So the display and everything still works perfectly. So the overall build quality, design, and durability on this device is top notch. So Samsung did a great job in all of those aspects. Really good job, Samsung. The next thing I want to talk about with you guys and gals now is the overall display. So let's get in here. Now, talking about the display on this device, up front, dead center here, you have a 5.1 inch 2K display with a resolution of 2460 by 1440p and a screen density of 576 pixels per inch. For you guys and gals that like to know the raw performance data, there it is. Now, putting all that stuff aside, putting all the raw numbers aside, and talking about this display in terms of daily usage, I have to say this display has been pretty good, really good. I haven't had any issues with the display on this device. Now, indoors, I typically keep it at about 25 to 30%, as you can see there. That's roughly what that is. Outdoors, I found that I only have to crank it to about 50% and it works perfectly. So this display is really good, and I haven't had any issues. So regardless of wherever you want to use this device, you shouldn't have any issues with the overall display. So really good stuff in that aspect. Again, kudos Samsung, y'all did a great job with this device. Next, let's dive a little bit deeper into the hardware and then talk about the software performance on this device. Now, hardware wise, this bad boy is packing a 16 megapixel camera in the rear, which is capable of recording true 4K videos at 30 frames per second, 1080p 60, 1080p 30, 720p 30, 720p 120 frames per second slow motion, 480p at 30 frames, so on and so forth, okay, with the rear facing 16 megapixel camera. Alright, it has a heart rate sensor on the back built into the dual LED flash, which is really good. It also supports Qi wireless charging as well as PMA wireless charging standards at the standard rate, which is 5 watts. Okay, it also supports fast charging at 15 watts via the Samsung Adaptive Fast Charge 2.0, which is built on top of Qualcomm Quick Charge 2.0, and it charges via the micro USB charging standards. Okay, so no USB Type-C on this bad boy here. Up front, we have a 5 megapixel camera, which is capable of recording video at up to 2K resolution at 30 frames per second, and doing 720p, 1080p, and 480p video recording. Really good stuff there. We already talked about the 5.1-inch Quad HD display. And then right below the display, we have our capacitive hard buttons, and there is no built-in fingerprint scanner on this device, so all we have is the tactile buttons and with the pattern, the pin, or the password in terms of security. So no face unlock on this bad boy either, via smart lock or otherwise, none of that on board here. But we do have a 3.5mm headphone jack and an IR blaster, so you can record your IR equipment like your TVs, your ACs, so on and so forth. Okay, talking about more internals, this bad boy is packing a 3500 milliamp hour battery on board. Really good stuff there. And talking about the chipset that this bad boy is built with, this is built on top of the Exynos 7420 octa-core chipset with the Mali T760 MP8 GPU. So that's Samsung's in-house processor chipset on board on this device. Okay? And this bad boy is packing 3 gigs of RAM and 32 gigs of onboard storage, or 3 gigs of RAM and 64 gigs of onboard storage. No micro SD card expansion. I can't remember if I said that, so I said it now. Alright, so in terms of the hardware, I believe that covers all of the hardware aspects. Okay, now let's talk about some of the software performance. So in terms of the software, this bad boy is running Android 7.0 Nougat with Samsung's TouchWiz UI on top. So I have to say, in terms of the overall software, it's okay performance. In day-to-day performance, I have noticed a bunch of app hiccups and a bunch of app crashes with a bunch of apps open in the background, and I would have to equate that to the 3 gigs of RAM on board this device. Really, in my opinion, Android should have really started out with 4 gigs of RAM minimum, and it should have been more if you had a heavy skin. And unfortunately, this TouchWiz UI is an extremely heavy skin. So the overall performance via the software, via day-to-day performance, is just okay in my opinion. Now I would recommend that you have no more than 4 to 8 apps running in the background. Any more than that, and you're going to notice some really big performance issues. Okay, so the hardware aspects of this device are okay in my opinion. Really, it lost points because it doesn't have 4 gigs of RAM and it doesn't have micro SD card expansion, so it really lost some big points there in my opinion. Because if you pick up this device, you really don't want to load up a lot on here, and if you do load up a lot via photos, videos, games, or otherwise, then you're definitely going to have to look into alternative storage solutions via the cloud or any other software storage solutions, like offloading the flash drives, offloading to your computer, so on and so forth. And that's because it doesn't have that micro SD card expansion. Okay, so it is what it is. Hardware okay, software okay. Now let's keep it moving. The next thing I want to talk about with you guys and gals is the overall Wi-Fi performance on this device. Okay, so let me pull up some stats here so you guys and gals can see. And y'all can see just how long it takes to load up. So it did take a good amount of time. Now in terms of the Wi-Fi, this bad boy is packing Wi-Fi 802.11 BGNN and AC dual band Wi-Fi, so that means that you have support for your 2.4 gigahertz band Wi-Fi and your 5 gigahertz band Wi-Fi on this device. And in terms of the Wi-Fi performance, I have to say that it has been really good, and the same thing I can say for the data performance as well. Really good data performance on this device as well. Okay, not the best scores that I've seen, but pretty good for what it is. So no issues with the overall Wi-Fi in my opinion. Now let's go ahead and load up a YouTube video so I can give y'all a real-time Wi-Fi performance test, and this will also double as our speaker test as well. Alright, so I was listening to something earlier. We're going to go ahead and replay this. Let me max out the volume so y'all can see the speaker volume is maxed out. And let's go ahead and restart the video. I'm going to stop talking now and push play. Alright, let's go ahead and scrub through the video now. Okay, so there you have it. Real quick Wi-Fi performance test. Real quick speaker test as well. Now, how do I feel about the overall speaker performance and the overall placement? Now, I don't know how good my microphones picked it up, but in terms of the overall speaker performance, I actually feel that it was pretty good. It was fairly loud and stayed very crisp and clear throughout, but it was lacking in the bass department. But overall, I'd have to say the speaker performance was pretty good. That being said, when we talk about the placement of the speaker on this device is horrible. Horrible. As y'all saw through my demonstration, it's extremely easy to muffle and obstruct, and you really have to get used to that cupping technique if you want to get that nice deep sound. So in my opinion, I feel like Samsung should have went with a different speaker placement approach when they were designing this device, but it is what it is. That's what they decided to go with. Y'all know me, I'm a big advocate for front-firing speakers, and I do believe all devices should have front-firing speakers. But it is what it is. This device has what it has, and there's nothing that we can do about it. But overall, that pretty much covers the Wi-Fi performance and the speaker test. So let's keep it moving. Up next now, let's talk about the overall LTE and bands supported in this device. Let's go. Now, when we talk about the overall LTE and bands supported, this bad boy is a GSM unlocked device and is primarily used on AT&T. This was an AT&T exclusive, but as I said, this device is GSM unlocked, so it'll work on all GSM carriers, okay? So AT&T, T-Mobile, Metro by T-Mobile, Cricket, so on and so forth. As long as you have a GSM carrier, this device should work no problem. So as long as you make sure your carrier supports these bands right here, you should be good to go. Let me get that to focus for y'all. Bam. So as long as it supports these bands, you should be good. Alright. Now if this is unclear, I'll throw up the screenshot in post. But yeah. So I was a little bit bummed out as this device is not globally unlocked, but for what it is, it's pretty good, and I haven't had any issues. Now I tested this with T-Mobile and I tested it with AT&T via FreeUp Mobile and via Text Now, okay? And I had no issues with either of those carriers. Alright, so that pretty much goes over the overall band supported on this device. So let's keep it moving. Up next now, let's talk about the Bluetooth on board and the Bluetooth performance. So Bluetooth wise, this bad boy is packing Bluetooth 4.1 technology on board, and I have to say, in terms of the overall Bluetooth performance, I haven't had any issues with this device. And I connected up a bunch of stuff, a bunch of speakers, a bunch of headphones, a bunch of stuff, and it all worked flawlessly. So if you're Bluetooth dependent like myself and you're trying to live that hashtag wireless lifestyle and you're thinking about picking up this device, the Bluetooth on here should serve you well. So top-notch marks in overall Bluetooth and Bluetooth performance, Samsung. Alright, next, let's now talk about the overall GPS performance. And let me pull up my last GPS test that I ran here. I think I put it in the benchmarks folder. Go ahead and pull that up. Now I had this queued up already to make it faster, but y'all see it did have to reload, so I did have to go through and pull it back up. So in terms of the overall GPS and GPS performance, I have to say that it locked on pretty good and turn-by-turn navigation was pretty good, but I did notice it took an extra second or two to lock on. Now, once the GPS was locked onto my location, I didn't have any issues with turn-by-turn navigation or geocaching and geotagging. But that extra 1 to 2 seconds while it was locking onto my location, I really noticed that. And I was very surprised because I've tested a lot of devices and I really never noticed the amount of time that it takes to lock on. Usually I fire it up, it's already locked on within fractions of a second and we're good to go. But I really didn't notice the GPS performance lock on speed while I was testing this device, so I did have to point that out. But overall, I have to say the GPS performance is okay to good. It's not the best I've seen, but it gets the job done. Alright, now if I had to make this my daily driver, indefinitely, would I? Because you guys and gals know, if y'all checked out any of my latest videos or most recent videos, when I pick up devices, I'm very heavy on the GPS. So I need very reliable GPS and I need it to be very fast. So based on that, would I make this my daily driver? If I absolutely had to, yes. If I had another device that I could use in its place, then I'll probably switch to the other device. Because I need that GPS lock on to be instant. Okay? So that is that. Okay? So that covers the overall GPS performance. Now let's talk about the overall call quality and speaker call quality on this device. And this is another area where I was surprised and a little disappointed. Okay? Now talking about the call quality through the onboard receiver right there, calls were not really that good. Through the onboard receiver, callers really had a hard time hearing me, and I had a hard time hearing them, and I really had to switch it to speaker calls if I wanted to get any decent call performance. So calls through the onboard receiver were not too good on this one. Keep in mind, I tested it on T-Mobile and AT&T, okay? And it was the same on both of those carriers. Now, when I connected up a Bluetooth headset, we were good. When I used the speakerphone, we were good. Speakerphone calls were loud, crisp, and clear, and I had no issues. So the only issue I had with the call quality and speaker performance was via the onboard receiver. So if you like to take receiver phone calls and you don't like the way Bluetooth headphones feel on your ears or Bluetooth earbuds feel in your ears, you're going to be stuck using the onboard speaker to take your phone calls. Alright, so a little bit disappointed by that, but it is what it is. And y'all know I got a bunch of Bluetooth speakers, headphones, earbuds on deck. So we'll make it work. But it is what it is. I had to let y'all know. Very disappointed by that. But let's keep it moving. Up next now, I just want to go over and give you guys and gals my opinions of the overall camera performance on this device. Once again, I want to reiterate that we have a 16 megapixel sensor on the rear and we have a 5 megapixel sensor on the front. Okay, now I've done a separate dedicated camera video with the photo and video samples, and I'll link that up down below in the video description, and I'll throw up a card somewhere on the screen, so y'all feel free to check that out. Now, this camera interface is pretty much a carbon copy of the camera interface on the Samsung Galaxy S7 or the Samsung Galaxy S8. So I didn't feel the need to go through the camera interface on this one. If y'all want to see the camera interface walkthrough, feel free to check out my S8 walkthrough or my S7 walkthrough, because it's basically the same as this. Okay? The only differentiating factor between these cameras and those other cameras that I covered is the actual hardware. So the S7 and the S8 have 12 megapixel sensors on the rear, and 8 and 5 megapixel sensors respectively on the front. Okay? Alright. But putting that aside, in terms of overall performance, I found that with this device, you really need adequate to good lighting to get good photos or take good videos. In less than adequate or good lighting, you're going to have really grainy photos and really grainy videos. So overall performance with the cameras, I would say, is just okay. Alright? As long as you're mindful of the lighting, you should be able to take some good photos and record some good videos. The minute you have bad lighting, you'll see the difference. That being said, talking about the audio recording, I have to say the microphones on this device are really, really good. So if you wanted to record a lecture or do a voiceover for a video, these microphones should serve you well. Okay? And if they don't, if you feel like they're subpar, you could always plug up a external microphone into the 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. So a bunch of versatility with this device. Okay? Now, that pretty much covers the camera performance. Again, if y'all would like to see the photo and video samples, check out the links down below in the video description. Alright, moving on now, let's talk about the overall gaming performance with this device. And again, I've done a separate, I don't even know how to say that, separate dedicated gaming performance video. I'll go ahead and link it down below in the video description and throw up the associated card for y'all to check out. If y'all want to pause and check that out and come back, feel free to do that. Now, talking about the gaming performance, I have to say that it was okay. Now, I did notice that the device did get really warm during extended gameplay sessions right below the camera. Okay? And I did notice a lot of performance dips. And if you watch the video and pay close attention, you will be able to see those performance dips as well. And I do have to mention that I have to be really mindful of the apps that I had running in the background, because if I wasn't, then the games would freeze and I had to go and close out some stuff to continue playing. So this is yet another thing that reinforces the fact that I feel that Android devices should have just came with 4 gigs of RAM from jump. Okay? Especially with the type of stuff that we do with our smart devices. Samsung should have just went ahead and threw in that 4 gigs of RAM and you would have been good to go. But it is what it is. Overall gaming performance to me is just okay in my opinion. And keep in mind, this whole video is based on my opinion, and everybody is entitled to their own opinion. Okay? Now, moving on, the next thing I want to do is briefly go over the benchmark scores for you guys and gals, because nobody comments and tells me that I can get rid of it, so now I have to keep featuring it. Alright? So let's go ahead and pull it up, and yet again, it looks like it had to reload, so let's go ahead and pull that back up. And here we go. So the first benchmark that I ran was the 3D Mark Ice Storm Unlimited test. And you can see it scored an 18,885, which is pretty good. Alright. Next test, the Antutu benchmark. Y'all can see it scored a 92,226. And it beat out roughly 12 to 19% of the other users that ran this test on their devices. So I was pleasantly surprised by that. but this is basically what I would consider mid-range to entry-level specs. Okay. Next, we have the Geekbench 4 test. So you can see in the single core, it scored a 1,446, and in the multi-core, it scored a 4,215. Not surprised by the single core score, but I was very surprised by the multi-core score. Was not expecting that, but this is one of Samsung's flagship processors, so very surprised to see that. Alright, up next, this is the Geekbench 4 compute test, and y'all can see it scored a 3,665, which is pretty good. Now, the max that I've seen on this test with the devices that I've tested was about 8,000, roughly somewhere around there, but this is still pretty good, especially when you consider the age of the device. Very, very surprising, and yet again, you can verify that this is the Exynos chipset right down there. Get that focus for y'all. Boom. Exynos platform right there. 7420. Alright. So that's Geekbench 4. Moving on. We already talked about the GPS. Now this is the Volemo metal test. And this just taxes the hardware and then spits out a dedicated score. So you can see it scored upper middle pack with a 1,817. So not bad. But I was pleasantly surprised by this one right here. Wow, can't talk today. It maxed out the multi-core test, scoring a 3,108 and scored top of the pack, even beating out its older flagship counterpart, the regular version, by a good amount, a couple hundred points. So I was pleasantly surprised by that. Now, this is my favorite benchmark to run. This is the DiscoMark multitasking benchmark, and what this benchmark does, allows me to load up all the apps on my device, and it will cycle through those apps and spit out an average time that each individual app took to open, and an average time the device took to get through all the apps. Now, on average, I use anywhere from about 17 to 21 apps on a daily basis, and I have to say, I was pleasantly surprised by what this device was able to score. So you can see, get that to focus, it scored a 7.256 seconds, and the individual app load up times were pretty good. Okay, that being said, I did notice a lot of app refreshes when I ran this test, and then I would equate that again to the fact that I feel it didn't have enough RAM, at least for what I do with my devices. But it is what it is. Still very surprised by the time it was able to get. Okay, I believe that pretty much does it for the benchmarks. Alright, yeah. So let's move on. The next thing I want to talk about now is I want to go over my battery life results and my charge time results. Now, before I dive into this, one thing that I want to preface before I talk about my results and show you guys some screenshots, so on and so forth, is that I am an extremely heavy user, and everything that I'm getting ready to talk about and show you guys will reflect that. Okay? Now, we all use our devices differently, so your guys and gals' results may vary. Okay? So maybe you're a light to moderate user, you will see different results. Okay? That being said, before we dive in, I just want to show you the battery health before I talk about my results. So when I first got the device, it had an overall health of about 88%. So it was roughly at about 3,100 milliamps. Now, after all of my testing, you guys and gals can see right there that the camera focus is down to 2,900 milliamps out of the 3,500 milliamps. So it's at 85% overall battery health, and y'all can see just how many charge cycles I've put on the device. So we have not been taking it easy on this device. Alright, that being said, let's now talk about my overall results and some of my stats. So, talking about the overall battery life with this device, let me get some more focus, sorry y'all. I found that I I was able to get through the day with my style of heavy usage, but I did have to charge the device one additional time. Now, putting that into perspective for you guys, I was getting through the day with about 5.5 hours of screen on time to about 8.5 hours of screen on time, depending on what I was doing for any particular day. And that's with heavy usage. Now, with more moderate to light usage, I was easily getting through the day with about 15 to 10% left, and I was averaging about 4.5 to 7.5 hours of screen on time with light to moderate usage. Okay, so okay battery life in my opinion. Now, I was shocked because this type of battery life rivals the flagships of today in my opinion. And when you consider the age of this device, I was very surprised. And I was very disappointed by the flagship battery life from some of the newer devices. You see how old this device is, and it's still hanging with the newer devices? Come on, manufacturers. Y'all need to step up y'all battery game, okay? We should be getting well over a day of battery life with heavy usage. Moto G7 power. And well over 10 hours of screen on time. Moto G7 power. So why is it that this older flagship has battery life that falls directly in line with the expensive flagships of today? Anyone? Anyone? Don't worry, I'll wait. I have no idea. Y'all tell me down below in the comments. I have no idea why that is. It's crazy. But still, I was surprised. It is what it is. Those are the results. Let's move on. Anyways, next thing I want to talk about now is the overall charge times. Now, when I did my charge testing, I tested 1% to 100 5 times. I tested 10% to 100 5 times. I tested 15% to 100 5 times, and 20% to 100 5 times. And I'll throw up my screenshots in post so y'all could check that out. Or I'll have it linked up down below in the video description so y'all can go to the Google Drive and see all of my stats on this device. Okay? Alright, so in terms of the overall charge time, I found that on average this device takes anywhere from about an hour and 45 minutes to reach a full charge, all the way up to 2.5 hours to reach a full charge, depending on the percentage that you put this bad boy on the charger at. And keep in mind that has to do with plugged in charging. Now, when we talk about wirelessly charging, then I found this bad boy takes anywhere from about 3 to about 5 hours to reach a full charge when you charge it wirelessly. Again, this bad boy supports standard 5-watt wireless charging, and one of the things that you have to keep in mind when we talk about charging your device is the overall display and the resolution and the overall battery capacity. Again, 2K display, 3500 milliamp hour battery. Okay? So that's just something you have to keep in mind. Alright, so that pretty much goes over the overall battery stats and the overall charge times. Alright, now let's keep it moving and let's talk about the last part of this video that I want to cover. Now let's briefly talk about the price, and I'm going to give y'all my final thoughts and an overall recommendation or two. Now, talking about the price, and I'll throw the screenshot up and post yet again for you guys and gals to check out. I was able to pick up this bad boy here for a little bit over $85. I think it was about $84 and change at checkout. Again, check out the screenshot. But that being said, I've done some research, and this bad boy is available from anywhere from about $90 to at most $200 right now today as of the recording of this video. And that being said, for that price of $90 to $200, can I recommend that you guys and gals pick up this device? Well, if you can get it at the lower end of the pricing spectrum, so that $90 price point, yes, I can recommend this. Now, if you go to check it out and it's only available for that $150 to $200 price point, no, that's a hard pass on this one for $150 to $200. That's a definite pass there. That being said, at $90 to $100, yes, I can recommend this. This will make a good backup phone or a good first-time phone for your kids. That being said, if you do pick this up for your kids as a first-time phone, just be aware that it may spoil them. They will get used to some good camera performance and a really good display. And the overall feature set that's on this device is really, really solid. So they will be spoiled if you pick up this device for them. And come upgrade time, they may want to be looking at another Samsung device, if not another active line device, because this bad boy is a beast when it comes to overall durability. And I've rocked this bad boy with absolutely no case. Okay? So, again, can I recommend that you guys and gals pick up this device? I'd have to say yes, if you can find it at the lower price point. If you look it up and it's expensive, anything over $150 to $200, no, hard pass on that. You can find other devices with better specs at cheaper prices. Anyways, that pretty much does it for this full review. I hope you guys and gals enjoyed the video and or found it helpful. If you did enjoy the video and found it helpful in any way, shape, form, or fashion, please help your boy out and give the video a thumbs up. That really does help me out. You don't know how much. Also, if you want to see more content like this, also feel free to hit the subscribe button down below and click off the notification bell icon right next to it so you guys and gals get notified when I publish new videos. That being said, if this video piqued your interest and you guys and gals would like to know where you can pick up this device at some really great prices, all the links to where you can pick up this device at some really great prices will be available down below in the video description, as well as links to the photo and video samples and all that good stuff. Everything you need to know will be linked up down below in the video description. So as always, the video description will be like a one-stop shop for you guys and gals, and you should be good to go. Alright, this whole video here today was recorded using the rear-facing 12 megapixel camera on the Samsung Galaxy S7 Active in 720p resolution at 30 frames per second. All the audio for this video here today was recorded using the Movo MA2010 omnidirectional microphone. So please let me know what you think of the overall video quality and the overall audio quality down below in the comments. I hope everyone has a great day, and I will catch you guys and gals in my next video. And as always, if this video runs over 35-45 minutes, it will be timestamped for your convenience, so you feel free to jump around to the parts of the video that you guys and gals would like to know more about. Alright, we out of here. Have a good one, everybody. Catch you in the next one. Peace.